Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Today is Monday, the day after the end of the regular season. 49ers fall to the Arizona Cardinals. They finished the year at 6-11, last place in the NFC West. They have that last place schedule looking ahead to 2025. And that's what it's all about at this point, looking ahead to what comes next for the 49ers. And as I mentioned on the video last night after the game, 49ers will face five last place teams from the 2024 season in 2025. So an opportunity for them to kind of pick themselves up and make obviously put together a better showing, at least in the win-loss record next season. 49ers have a lot of holes, a lot of things that they have to clean up, a lot of decisions to make. And it was locker cleanout day in Santa Clara. I did not make it down there, but I watched the videos that we posted at NBC Sports Bay Area of some of the players. I've just been kind of feeling under the weather here, which I guess goes in kind of lockstep with the 49ers season this year. Just the health concerns that that team had, all the issues that they had. Um, let's not just leave it at that. They had the injury issues, of course, to some top players. They had poor performances across the board. And yes, that includes the coaching staff. And, as I talked about on the video last night, I think Kyle Shanahan kind of foreshadowed some changes. When I last talked to him as he was heading out to catch the buses to go to the plane to come home, he said that he probably wasn't going to be speaking to the media until later in the week. So that certainly suggests that there will be some moves made at this point, Tuesday, Wednesday, potentially Thursday, as he and John Lynch chart the future for this organization and where they go from here. One of all the key guys, most of the key guys anyway, spoke to the media on Monday, and Brock Purdy was front and foremost. Um, and what he said, some interesting things. He said that he talked about his confidence and where he is in the contract situation. And, there's no debating Brock Purdy will get a contract. He will get a sizable contract. There's no way any team would allow him to just play on his fourth year, final year of his contract at that position when he's had the kind of performances that he's had, including, finishing fourth in the MVP voting for the 2023 season. So they will do something to adjust that contract. And as of the final game of the regular season, now the sides, according to the NFL CBA, are allowed to begin negotiating for a contract. It's the first time, when a draft pick signs, it's a 4-year contract, and the sites can't do anything about that contract until after the player plays his third season. So now that Brock Purdy has played his third season, the sides will get together and they'll come up with a deal that works for both sides. Now, as for Purdy, what he said, um, one of the things he said that kind of stood out to me, he said, I know I'm the guy for this organization and I can do what it takes to help lead us to where we want to go. And I'm confident in that. He talked about, his age. He just turned 25 years old, folks. So what he said was, I want to grow. I want to be a better quarterback, and I want to be here with these guys, and I want to win here. Whatever that looks like when it comes to the business side of things, I want to represent my teammates and myself in the right manner throughout the process and help this organization win. Now, as far as the timing of getting a contract done, he said that's very important for him to get it done quickly because he wants to be here through the entire offseason program, starting with phase one. And for the 49ers, seeing how the contract situations last offseason carried over into training camp and really became a huge distraction, that really has to be a huge priority for John Lynch, for Pragmate, for Jed York to get that contract done so that Brock Purdy doesn't become a distraction with his contract situation. And speaking of his age, he did say, I just turned 25 years old, and there are a lot of areas and improvement in my game I can get to. He also talked about just kind of going away and coming back hungry. And that was a theme, certainly, for a lot of the guys in the locker room, including Christian McCaffrey, who said, by the way, that he's feeling great and he's looking forward to putting together a good offseason and coming back as strong as ever for the 2025 season. The one thing that should be noted, while he missed the first, I believe it was 8 games with the bilateral Achilles tendonitis, when he came back, he was feeling good. It said he took him a while to get into the rhythm, and I think he started to show that in a game against Buffalo. And so the injury that knocked him out, totally unrelated to the Achilles, it was a posterior cruciate ligament that doesn't require surgery. He should be fine and ready to go. But one of the things that McCaffrey said, and only that way that he can deliver it, we're all pissed off in the right ways, and that's a good place to be. And that kind of got the sense in watching what the guys were saying in the locker room that that offseason, that final game could not have gotten here fast enough. For the guys who weren't playing at the end of the season, heck, for even the guys who were playing. George Kittle played less than half the game on Sunday just to get to that offseason. Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, those guys just wanted it to, they wanted to finish off the right way. It didn't work out for the 49ers as they got creamed by the Arizona Cardinals. But now everybody can kind of turn the page. And when it comes to turning the page, Deebo Samuel, he talked a lot about wanting to be here, the brotherhood in that locker room. He said the brotherhood has been through the roof since I got here, and at the end of the day, we all stick together. When asked about it, whether he has any questions, whether he'll be back with the team next season, he said no questions at all. Certainly, I would have questions. My guess is that he does return, but I don't think it's a sure thing. But I just think that with the relationship that he has with Kyle Shanahan, with late in the season, the game against Miami in particular, when he's doing those Deebo things, as many of his teammates call them, 49ers are a better team. And I don't see that it's a redundancy to have Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel on the team together. They're both guys who can line up in the backfield, run the ball. They can catch passes out of the backfield or wherever. And to me, nobody was talking about them being redundant back last season when they were both achieving more than 1,000 yards from scrimmage. And McCaffrey was the NFL Offensive Player of the Year. So, although it's certainly not a sure thing, I do think that Deebo Samuel will be back, but we shall see. One guy who I don't think will be back is Charvarius Ward. He spoke at his locker really for the first time since the tragic events of him losing his daughter back in late October. But he did kind of keep the door open for the 49ers to re-sign him. He said that the 49ers went into the season thinking they weren't going to be able to afford me. And of course, the season he had wasn't great. But he said that, although when he's cleaning out his locker room and their locker and saying goodbye to the fellas, it did feel like a final goodbye. But he said he did talk to John Lynch, and there is the possibility that he could be back. But, it is a big deal for him. Just the association with the location of what happened with losing his daughter, Amani Joy, before she even reached 2 years old. He said there was a lot of trauma there in coming to California. And every time he gets on a plane to come back to the Bay Area, it brings up bad memories. And he said his partner doesn't want to come back to California because of what happened. And Charvarius even offered that he's still feeling that PTSD, that he wakes up in the middle of the night and he gets sick at just the thought of losing his daughter. And there was other stuff going on. He revealed that he and his partner almost lost their baby boy too, who was born a week or so ago. So there's Charvarius Ward. Certainly, what his future looks like. I would think it'll be very difficult for the 49ers to re-sign Charvarius Ward, Aaron Banks. The 49ers will, because of the contract situation with Javon Hargrave. He, in essence, will become a free agent. They restructured that deal for a post June 1 release, so he'll be available on the open market. The 49ers have made it clear to him, though, that they would like to re sign him and bring him back. And really, when you look at it, I'm about ready to sit down and do my first mock draft. I really think the area I'm going to concentrate on with the number 11 overall pick is defensive line. And whether that's an outstanding edge rusher to line up opposite of Bosa or a defensive tackle, that actually might be the way to go. As Foreigners fell off dramatically in so many areas, but I think the defensive line was the one spot in particular, the front seven, where they really suffered. Because when you look at that 49ers defense from this season, perhaps, one of the I don't know, ironies is that I think they were improved in the defensive backfield. Clearly, they didn't have the kind of interception numbers, only 11 this season compared to 22 last year. But with Lenore, with Renardo Green, Mustafa, I think the 49ers are pretty well set in the defensive backfield. They can always use a couple more guys to come in for depth purposes. See what happens with Hufanga. Jair Brown's got to ramp that up and take his game to another level. But where the 49ers really suffered, I think, was in the with the front four in that rotation. And they lost a lot of guys. Javon Hargrave, clearly the top of that list. But Kevin Givens, losing him was a big blow. So we'll see what they do there, but certainly they need to restock the talent on that defensive line to get the defense back to a level where it's been in the past. And speaking of the defense, the one thing that I touched on last night was Nick Sorensen, where I felt like it was trending in a good direction for him to be back. That was coming off the game against the Bears, coming off the really good defensive performance against the Los Angeles Rams, the division winning Los Angeles Rams. But the way that that defense played the last 3 weeks, completely unacceptable. And I do think that um, my guess would be that a change is made at defensive coordinator, whereas 3 weeks ago, I definitely wouldn't have said that. So um, those are kind of the areas where the 49ers are looking at. And, the first step, I think, for Kyle Shanahan is to figure out, what to do with that coaching staff. Um, Nick Sorensen, Brian Schneider, the special teams coordinator. So we'll see where they go there. And then also wanted to touch on the team awards. And so the most prestigious honor that the 49ers have given out through the years is called the Lynn Eshmon Award. And it's to the player with courageous and inspirational play. And that goes to George Kittle. And this is the second career Eshmon Award for Kittle. And then the Bill Walsh Award, which is essentially the team MVP, and it honors the standard of professionalism and excellence that Bill Walsh created during his remarkable tenure as the coach of the 49ers. So that goes to Fred Warner, and that is the third time that Warner has won that award. The other awards for the 49ers, the Bob McKittrick Award for offensive line play goes to Jake Brindle. Um, Hazeltine Ironman Award goes to Fred Warner playing through the ankle injury. Thomas Harrion Award, a rookie who takes advantage of his opportunities, that goes to Malik Mustafa. The Ed Block Courage Award goes to wide receiver Ricky Pearsall, of course. And so those are the main awards, the main on-field awards for the 49ers. So I'm sorry about the voice. Hopefully I get through this. And I wouldn't expect anything as far as a coaching decision or decision with the staff on Monday. But as the days go by here, that is obviously something that Kyle Shanahan is looking into as the first priority for him is to figure out what he wants to do with the coaching staff. But certainly, by what he told me, that he would expect to not do his uh, end of season press conference until later in the week, tells me that there's a few things on his plate that he feels that's worthy of considering. And a year ago, just a little background, a year ago, when the 49ers lost the Super Bowl, I think it was on a Tuesday, he had uh, his that press conference that we're talking about. And he was asked, of course, about Steve Wilks at that point, because we all had a kind of an inkling that that was the direction it was going to go. When you're kind of, when you're around the team a lot and you talk to a lot of people, you get a sense for where things are going. And even though, the numbers said one thing when it came to the 49ers defense, and the 49ers defense played very well in the Super Bowl, you could just sense that it just wasn't smooth and it wasn't clicking the way the 49ers wanted it to click. And so um, obviously Shanahan kind of gave a non-committal answer, something along the lines of, I would expect our coaches to be back, or something like that. And then the following day, it was kind of a hastily called uh, conference call with Shanahan, where he announced that he had just relieved Steve Wilks of his duties as 49ers defense coordinator. So I think this year, if there's a change like that made, or a decision made, he's going to want to meet with the media after that decision is made. So that's why he is more than likely going to be meeting with the media Thursday or Friday. At least that's what he told me a couple hours after the game on Sunday. So anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. Appreciate all your support. I'm almost positive the video I posted after the game Sunday night, the most views that we've had here on YouTube. So I truly appreciate it. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. And that is it for now.